Yeah. Wake up with coffee and sports. Sunrise glow, listen coast to coast. A flow like you know.
Offensively, who made them? Oh, Patrick Mahomes.
Sideline to sideline with plays to show. This network's got the spark.
When you put up 300 yards rushing against someone, that you got your butt whooped.
I feel like I would have liked to see Oregon Ohio State in the semis, not the quarters. So I think some reseeding is probably where I would change. But
they're out of their mind. They're going to do this 3 quarterbacks in a row.
Here's the crazy.
I just can't take it.
Birds keep flying high, fans cheering loud, and one podcast moving through the crowd. Needy boys brawling, no holds barred loud. This wire life never in doubt. Tune into the vibe.
That's my bold prediction for the show. Devin Booker, in the next 3 years, he will be a Houston Rocket.
Because I still think Seth is still at the top of his game. I do. I think he's right there. Who knows? Maybe not this year, but one time soon. Why wouldn't we potentially see Seth and Roman? You know what I mean?
Tune in the vibe. Warning Rex, good centers. Got me on the mic now, let's spill the tea. Talking courtside dreams from history. Legends on the blacktop now and then. From Will to Steph, we hit it again. Better chimes in, let's go deep. Young bloods rising, can't skip a beat. Puppy prospects with fire in their eyes. Draft night suckers and hoop dream highs. Wire to wire, bring the heat. Podcast magic can't be beat. Do better, we're roll better. We're hoop heads, trendsetters.
What's poppin', y'all? It is your boy, Gardi3, and welcome to the And1 Podcast. And, of course, joining me just like every week, he is the greatest co-host of all time. He is Mo Better. How you doing, Mo?
I'm doing great on a Thursday night, Brett. We're getting ready to talk hoops, so it can't get better. Appreciate you guys in the chat for joining us.
And I apologize for the late start. It is all Carmelo Anthony's fault, according to Phil Jackson. I can just blame Carmelo for all my problems. So, but before we get into the whole new drama regarding Phil Jackson and, Carmelo Anthony, why don't we start out exactly like we do every week, Mo? Underrated player of the week. Could be a player now, early season, in the past. Who do you got for us, Mo?
This is going to be a strange one, I guess to some people, but I'm going to say the underrated player of the week is for me, it's Austin Reeves of the Lakers. And I say this because anybody that follows us know we've had this conversation where we talked about, or we asked the question, was Austin Reeves at the time the best third option in basketball? And more or less people were split with that decision. And I only posed the question, what's he the third best player or the third option, because of who he played with. Like, if you think about it, like there are guys on other teams that are the best player on that particular team, and I don't know if they're clear and by far better than Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves is the third best player in the Lakers by default because he plays alongside LeBron James and Luka. And I'm saying that because when I watch Austin Reeves, the development of Austin Reeves year to year, he seems to add a little bit more each year. This particular season, he's always had a knack for drawing fouls, but because he's thrust in the role of the number one option, he's being more aggressive, being more assertive, and his ability to create shots off the dribble, it's a lot better than I remember when he came into the league. So I'm going to give some flowers to Austin Reeves, who I'm watching this guy take another leap in his development right now. Currently, Austin Reeves is averaging 34 points a game, 10 assists. I'm just really impressed with him taking on the mantle of being the primary with LeBron and Luka down. And I was going to be happy if he could keep the Lakers afloat around 500. And what he's doing, whether he's scoring or facilitating, is just very impressive.
No, fair enough. Austin Reeves is just off to a terrific start. He's, between his 50-point game. We just saw a game winner where he split the double team, hit a nice floater in the lane to call game. Loving what I'm seeing from Austin Reeves, and it'll be interesting how they balance out touches once LeBron and Luka return, because Austin Reeves has shown he can handle a bigger workload. So if you're the Lakers, why wouldn't you want to give him a bigger workload and preserve Luka and LeBron a little more for the playoffs?
In particular, LeBron, right? Like it's all about the postseason. Give Austin Reeves a bigger workload and take some of that off of LeBron's plate. That way you have a fresher, healthier LeBron going into the postseason.
No, absolutely. Mo, I kind of pride myself a little bit on the ability to remain unbiased, even if there's a player I get frustrated with quite often. And I'm going to do that here because there's a player on my Bucks that started out the year by seemingly leaving his ego at the door and completely buying into the system. And of course, I'm talking about Kyle Kuzma. He got thrust into a backup power forward role. And when you've been starting and just kind of doing whatever you want, and Washington, and even for stints in that first part of his Milwaukee run, that half a year, it's not easy for you to all of a sudden just completely buy into defense and completely accept a move to the bench. And he's absolutely done that. He's being more aggressive, getting downhill. He's cut out most of the stupid shots. I can't say all because I tried to give him credit yesterday, and then he immediately took a heat check 3, which I didn't get. But overall, I want to give him credit. He's almost completely bought into the system. He's getting downhill, erased a lot of his stupid shots. Kyle Kuzma, the backup 4, might be something I can get behind. So I wanted to be the first one to give him his flowers because, I've probably been one of his biggest critics, but I wanted to give him some credit. I'm loving what I'm seeing from him so far.
That's a good shout out. Because I've always thought that the best role for Kyle Kuzma, I'm talking about when you're on a winning team, the best role for him to me would be as a 6 man. And a versatile 6 man at that, because he can play the 3, but I think he's more effective as a small ball 4 because he can stretch the floor. He can beat some of the bigger 4s off the bounce. So I do like what he's done in Milwaukee, and I'm with you. I've watched him in his new role, and what I'm impressed with is he seems to have embraced it. Like, you're there, I'm on the outside looking in, but it looked like he's totally embraced his role, and I think he's thriving in this new role.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, come on. Of course, this is the one episode, the show that he pops in for. It's the one where I'm praising Kuzma. I might be cooked now. Because now Kuzma's going to go on like a cold streak, and Reverse is just going to be like, hey, remember when you said this? By the way, glad to see you in here, sir. Coach of the year. I don't go that far. Doc still made me mad. So, because I went to that, Bucks-Knicks game, and he did a lot right, but the Bucks did a lot right. We won the game, obviously, but he also frustrated the crap out of me. Because tell me why he's waiting to make a substitution to bring in the starters after we're losing. Like, the Knicks are clearly gaining momentum because we're up I think it was 40-31, and they go on this nice run to put themselves in the lead. But I'm like, yeah, can you call the timeout and gotten Giannis and company back in here 3 points ago? Or even when the game was tied? Why are you waiting down 4 to make subs? So Doc, in my eyes, still has work to do. But yeah, I'll give some credit there for getting Kuzma to buy into a backup power forward role. And shout out to Ryan Rollins as well. He's been fantastic. And he's been fantastic tonight.
He has played really well. I'm really impressed with Ryan Rollins. Ahead of schedule. Love it.
So, well, Mo, apparently if you have a problem in your life, you can just blame Carmelo Anthony. That's exactly, feels like what Phil Jackson did. He's putting the blame of the failed Knicks tenure on Melo from his reluctance to buy into the triangle offense. And then he details the meeting where he says pretty much either him or I got to go. So I find that so weird, Mo, but I want to get your take on it. what do you think about the idea that it was all Carmelo's kind of fault about the Knicks falling apart? Because Stoudemire also said something similar along those lines.
Well, so let me start with Amari because that's the easier one. I don't know how he could say anything similar around those lines because his body literally fell apart. Carmelo Anthony had one season with a healthy Amari Stoudemire, and where did they go? They went on a deeper playoff run, and I believe they lost to the Celtics in the postseason. But my point is this: after that, Amari stayed hurt, stayed injured, and they weren't a deep team. It was Carmelo Anthony and a bunch of dudes. What do you think was going to happen? And you went out of your way to say you want him to play the triangle. I get it. The triangle is a really good offense if you have the pieces in it to make it work. No shot creators other than Carmelo Anthony. No shooters. They didn't have athletic bigs. Their front office, which was led by President of Operations Phil Jackson, completely failed the franchise. Phil Jackson showed you when he's the one shopping for the groceries, he didn't know what the hell he was doing. He don't know how to shop. Phil Jackson destroyed the Knicks. They brought him there thinking winning coach could come in, even though he'd be in a different role, and he'd star in that role. Phil couldn't make the jump. He was horrible at that role. They didn't part ways. They ended up firing his ass because he was horrible in his role.
Yeah, and the funny part about Stoudemire is he wants to really, harp the blame on Melo. When the one time he was healthy and they were making a run, obviously they ran into Miami in the playoffs. You know what killed their chances? Try Amari punching a fire extinguisher and hurting his hand.
In the middle of the series.
In the middle of the series. It was already a long shot for them to beat the Heat. I'm not saying it would have happened, but you know what really drops that to zero? Your second best player getting mad and punching a fire extinguisher because he couldn't control his temper. It's one of those things where that's just, to me, with stat coming at Melo, that's just throwing rocks when you live in a really glass house. So I don't get.
You know what though? I guarantee you, Stoudemire will say, "Well, Melo's the reason I punched the fire extinguisher." I was so upset with him that I just lost it. Like, look, I don't know when Carmelo Anthony became low-hanging fruit. It happens to a lot of athletes when they're at the tail end of their careers and they don't have the storybook ending, so you don't remember what they were at their prime when they had a prime. The way people looked at Melo in his prime versus the way they looked at him the last couple of years of his career, it's different. The same way they're looking at Russell Westbrook and Russell Westbrook. They forget that Russ had a prime, that Russ was a former MVP. I hate that people go that route. At least when you and I talk about basketball or players who maybe their skills have declined, we point out they've gotten older, their bodies have gotten, and we point out their skills have declined. They didn't have Nuggets Carmelo Anthony at age 23 that he could have made up for a lot of the deficiencies that they had with the Knicks. This was Carmelo Anthony age 30, and he wasn't athletic anymore. His legs were gone. He was primarily a jump shooter. I don't know what they thought was going to happen.
Yeah, and it's funny because a lot of people want to come at Melo for what happened to the Knicks, and obviously he's going to deserve some blame, but I think people forget just how truly incompetent the front office was in putting pieces around him outside of that 1 year in 2013. But what happens right after 2013? They just make stupid move after stupid move. Obviously, we all know about the J.R. Smith and Iman Shumpert trade that sent him to the Cavs. Mo, can you name the centerpiece of that trade that the Knicks got back?
I don't remember.
If the first name that came to your mind was Lou Amundsen and Lance Thomas, pat yourself on the back. You deserve it.
Well, they're franchise builders, so yeah, I get it.
How about their defensive anchor and Tyson Chandler? In fact, bonus points if you can name anybody they got back from this trade.
I have no clue.
If you remember any of Jose Calderon, Shane Larkin, Samuel Dallenberg, or Wayne Ellington, Congratulations once again. Pat yourself on the back.
Yeah, that's why I don't remember.
No, and that's the annoying part, right? And then obviously we all know about the failed drafts. Frank the Tank didn't work out.
Oh God. Yeah.
We had the Derrick Rose signing at the time didn't work out, but of course there was maybe the cherry on top. And this one you'll remember. Jakeem Noah, 4 years, $72 million.
Well, so the crazy part about that was you know this, you follow ball as much as anybody. They got Jakeem Noah when he was washed. They got a broken down Noah and paid him. I want to say that was the first or second year where you had to use all the money up. Remember that? Because that was the year that Moskoff got $75 million from what the hell? The Lakers gave Moskoff $75 million. I don't even care if you had to do that. The Jakeem Noah that they got wasn't nowhere near the one that played in Chicago.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was just the greatest free agency of all time, and nobody can convince me otherwise. The free agency class for 2016.
It was insane, the money that was dealt out that year.
I remember getting gassed because I'm like, yeah, Bucks signed somebody to like 4 years, $52 million. Miles Plumlee, what the? Hey, we got another big signing up. We overpaid Delly now. Oh, great. But then, yeah, look at your Lakers. It's like, oh, they gave $72 million to Luol Deng. All right.
We loaded up on Luol Deng and Timothy Moskoff. Come on, man. Come on.
Yeah, but I think Melo gets too much of the blame for what went wrong in New York. While if you want to give him some of the blame, obviously do that because he deserves some of it. But like I said, I just feel like people forget just how incompetent that front office was in putting talent around him. It's like they got Melo in the building. They're like, all right, we're selling tickets. We're selling out every night. We're all good on this one.
Right. Don't forget that when they traded for Melo, they basically gave Denver damn near everybody. Like it was that kind of a trade to get Melo. They literally reshaped their entire roster outside of having Amari Stoudemire. And again, they were together for one healthy year for Stoudemire. I understand when you're the franchise player, you're going to take a hit, which is fair, by the way. I'm not absolving Carmelo Anthony, but I'm simply saying for Phil Jackson to go, well, if Melo had a better attitude or whatever, we would have. No, you still would have lost. You still wouldn't have gone anywhere. It was not a talented team. The roster construction was absolutely horrible, and the leadership from top down was the worst in the NBA. The only franchise worse than the Knicks, top to bottom, was the Hornets for obvious reasons. But I just think this weird thing where everybody's like, let me take a shot at Melo. Let me shoot my shot. It's kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy to me. Amari Stoudemire is a really good player. I don't think he's going to get in the Hall of Fame because he had a nice peak, but I don't think he had a great career. And the truth of the matter is, while he was the Suns' leading scorer, anybody that knows basketball, he was never their best player.
No, absolutely. I think Stat's one of those guys. He's like a lock for the Hall of Very Good, but not the Hall of Fame for sure.
Yeah, I get it. If Phil Jackson wants to speak like his record's unblemished, as a head coach, you can have an argument. But when you try to make a leap and step out of your element and become a roster builder, a culture developer, and you weren't that, it's different. What we found out about Phil Jackson was life is different when you don't have Kobe and Shaq on your franchise or you don't have Jordan and Pippen on your franchise. And that's not a knock against Melo because now you're talking about upper echelon Hall of Fame players. I'm simply saying that I think Carmelo Anthony was a great player, but if we ran down a list, we could do a whole show on Hall of Fame players that didn't win titles. We can do a show that would include some current players right now that are going to walk into the Hall of Fame and they're not going to have a title on their resume.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Fair enough. It was just a match that was never meant to be. I gotta ask, Mo, have you seen the clip with Richard Jefferson talking about the Mount Rushmore of his power forwards?
I didn't, and you told me about it right before we went live, and I was blown away that he would say that. And I'd like to just dismiss that, but he's not alone in those kind of weird thoughts, and I call them weird thoughts. I'm a huge Dennis Rodman fan. I know I don't sound like it all the time, but I'm actually a big Draymond Green fan. I was blown away. I knew when Draymond Green was drafted, this is what I knew. He was going to have a long career, and he was going to be a good basketball player. He exceeded everything I thought he would be as a basketball player. He wasn't just a good basketball player. He was an impactful player, an elite defender. You can make a case. We talked about this. The best defender of the last 10 to 15 years, he can be in that conversation. I have no problem with that. But I wouldn't have him as one of the greatest power forwards of all time. I wouldn't have Dennis Rodman as one of the greatest power forwards of all time. And when you told me, well, I'll let you say it. I'll let you speak on it. But it was just crazy to me.
I'm gonna do us one better, Mo. Why don't we let Richard Jefferson and company speak on it?
Are you hearing it? I'm not hearing it. I didn't get the audio.
Oh, okay. But I'd say it gave it gave the captions. But yeah, I'd say when he said they're talking Mount Rushmore power forwards. He said talking about he could throw Dennis Rodman in those conversations, but as soon as the last gentleman said, "I'm going to throw Giannis in there," he just stands up and goes, "Are we done?" And he starts walking off. It's just wild to me. I don't understand how. To me, Giannis is already he's at worst in the conversation. At best, he's clearly already on the Mount Rushmore, where Dennis Rodman isn't even in the conversation to be on the Mount Rushmore. And I don't like Dennis Rodman. I just hate the conversations he gets, put in. It just doesn't make sense to me, Mo. At the end of the day, you should talk about Dennis Rodman very highly. He was a fantastic player.
He was.
But at the same time, he's nowhere near the weight class of those all-time great power forwards like your, Charles Barkley, your Giannis's, your Dirks, your KGs, your Timmys. He's nowhere near that weight class. So
I agree.
Say,
and Barkley's great, right? Barkley is, when you factor in that he was only a legitimate 6'4", 6'5", Barkley's fantastic. But Barkley's not even in the top 5, right? He's not top 5. If Barkley's not top 5, how in the hell can you put Rodman in the conversation? We're taking guys who are very good in their role and comparing them to franchise players. Charles Barkley was a franchise player, led a team to the finals. This is what franchise players do. Karl Malone to the finals. Tim Duncan's 5 championships, lived in the finals. Dirk 2 times. He's a champion. The upset with the Heat. Again, a franchise player led you to the finals. Rodman he's a part of a franchise, but he's not the best player. The Detroit Pistons' best player is Isaiah Thomas. Their next best player is Joe Dumars. Then you might talk Rodman. Some might say Lambeer. He plays with the Bulls. We know who their 2 best players are. So again, I'm a Rodman fan, but you're talking about an impactful, terrific, complimentary player, and you're comparing him to a franchise player. Those are completely different worlds.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. By the way, important to note, the Magic did break their little losing streak they had going, took care of the Hornets. And the Bucks are up. The non-Giannis Bucks are currently up 1 on the Warriors, so I'll take that.
It's crazy, and I'm not going back on our prediction because I think this is we did some things and we agreed. We really thought that this particular season Paolo would take a big leap in his development. And I'm the first to say 5 games in, it is way too early to write the obituary of the Orlando Magic 5 games into the season. But what I will say is I've watched 4 of their games. He has not taken a leap. He's very stagnant, and well, there's no debate that he and Franz are an incredibly talented tandem. 2 things stand out. They're very inefficient, and they play more ISO ball than anything else. When you watch the Orlando Magic play, there is not a lot of ball movement. It is ISO-centric, and I don't like it. I don't like it, and I put that more of the coaching than anything. Like, you have to teach these guys a way to play the game. If you can't teach them a way, then come up with a system or something. But they're out there looking like they're playing street ball. And again, Paolo's an elite talent. I still think he can turn around and be an MVP candidate, but he's gotten off to a very frustrating start. I'll put it that way. Like, I thought he would just be better overall, and he hasn't been.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He very promising. He was efficient tonight, 29-9 of 8 and 12 shooting, and that's kind of what I was trying to figure out. Right, that was one of my biggest frustrations with the Orlando Magic is I feel like they have too many great playmakers to be this stagnant of an offense. So I feel like it almost feels like it's kind of has to be on coaching, just not getting creative at all with the game plan.
Agreed.
Because game plan is just straight up mismatch hunting. So I'd say if they continue to get off to a slow start and they get off to a rough start, I would not be shocked at all if owners look at Jamal Mosley and go, "Yep, you're out."
Look, that's a great point. And look, the big move when you bring in a piece as big as Desmond Bane, you bring in Desmond Bane because he gives you another shot creator. He gives you another 20-point scorer. Desmond Bane is even shooting horribly. Like, I think right now, or at least coming into tonight, he was shooting under 30% from 3. Like, I just and he wasn't that efficient from the 2 either. Again, it's 5 games in. I'm not writing the Magic off, but I'm just saying right now their offense doesn't have an identity. And when you look at all the talent that they have, I love what you said. I think that comes down to coaching. They don't have an identity. If they don't have an identity, I got to look at the coach.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, Mo, a couple weeks ago, we had a little fun and we played a little stock market NBA edition. So I figured we'd do it again. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the NBA stock market, where it's really simple. I'm gonna give you a choice here, and you're gonna tell me if you're buying or are you selling your stocks. And I'm gonna start with undefeated edition, Mo. Philadelphia 76ers. They're an interesting team. They got the young talents playing well right now. However, they're going to be introducing Paul George back into the mix, which I don't know, that could slow them down even more, which could be a problem. Are you buying them? Let's just say, do you buy them as a playoff team, or are you selling the stock and maybe thinking play-in team?
They're so complicated because they have so much going on. But I think that I'm going to buy them as a playoff team. I think they're going to have to find a balance with the older players when you look at Embiid and Paul George and what they can give you at this stage of their careers, and maybe highlight, like they started out the season with, which you have in a Tyrese Maxey, your rookie in VJ Edgecombe. Don't forget what they're getting from Grimes and Kelly Oubre. This team has a lot of talent on the wing. Don't forget, they're going to get a healthy Jarrett McCain back. Like, I think you have to run with what you do best. I think what Philly does best and plays to the strength of their wings is they play fast. When they play fast, it's probably one of the toughest teams to cover because they have multiple guys, Brett, that can put the ball on the floor and create for themselves.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you know what? It's funny because once you get past like the first 4 teams, like I'm still in on obviously the Cavs, Knicks, Bucks. it's still in on the Magic, obviously. Once you start getting to like that 5 and 6 spot, though, it's just really a whole flux of teams that could absolutely get there, right? Say the Pistons, I'm still in on them, which would kind of leave out one spot for them to battle for with teams like the Heat, with the Hawks, with teams like the Hornets. So,
and that's a good point. But I'll say this: Miami's gotten off to a really good start, and look, that is about coaching. That's maxing out the talent that you have. But I'm looking at the talent that Philly has. Philly obviously has much more talent than Miami has. It's not even close. But Eric Spoelstra is an elite coach. That said, that's the beauty of the NBA. It's an 82 game grind, and you can get off to a fast start and be 4-0 and end up finishing below 500 in an 82 game season. Do I think what Miami is doing early in the season is sustainable? I question that. I don't think it's sustainable. I think it's a placebo effect, and their fan base is eating it up. Look, you and I, we talked about this in the morning show. As fans of the NBA, am I excited and happy, which I am, that the Chicago Bulls have gotten off to this 4-0 start? 100%. And obviously, a young player that you and I talked about is looking terrific in the midst of this run, along with a guy who's young himself, but he's a 4-year veteran. And I think it's terrific watching this team and how they play, because they do move the ball well. They share the ball. They have a lot of ball and body movement, and it's working. But again, it's a 4-game sample. Do I look at the Chicago Bulls and go, yeah, they're definitely going to be one of the best 6 teams in the NBA? I think Chicago is going to be what they've been the last couple of years. They're going to be fighting in the play-in. I do. That doesn't mean that our guy won't still keep developing, because he will. 100%. And I'm enjoying watching them. I just don't think what Chicago's doing is sustainable.
Fair enough. You know what? I'll buy it. I think the 76ers could, sneak into that 6th spot. So, in fact, you mentioned the Miami Heat. And there's one aspect that I want to ask if you're buying or selling. Bam Adebayo, elite 3-point shooter. He's currently hitting 39% on 5 threes a game. Are you buying this 3-point improvement from Bam, or are you selling? You think there's some regression coming down the line?
I think there's going to be a regression because as the workload stays heavy and you get into that grind and you go on the road, and I'm not rooting against Bam. He's actually one of my favorite players. I'll say this. I'll put another spin on it. If Bam Adebayo is going to shoot 39% from the field, from the 3-point line for the season, then Miami's going to make the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs because Hero will be back. He'll be healthy. Hero gives them another 3-point shooter. And then you throw in a guy like Norman Powell, who's a walking bucket, and that gives you 3 guys, because now we're talking about Bam shooting threes. It's a different dimension to his game. I actually hope it's sustainable. I hope Bam can add this to his game. It likens me to what Al Horford did late in his career. Now, Bam is much younger than Al, but good for Bam that he's realized where the game is. And he's like, I got to add something to my game now while I'm in my prime, because as he gets older, if he can shoot the 3, that's going to extend his career.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't think he's going to stay at 39%, but the fact that he's all of a sudden so willing to do it this year it'll only help him going forward. So especially with his elite defense, if he can consistently even if it regresses to like a 37% 3-point shooter or 36 on 5 attempts a game, yeah, defenses are going to respect that. So yeah, no, I'm selling, but I think he can at least stay in that above average range, which would be great for him.
I agree. If Bam's going to shoot 36% from 3 and still be efficient in the restricted area, like I said, Miami's going to be right there. That said, if both teams are healthy, I'm talking about Philly and Miami, if they're both healthy, I don't see how Miami would be able to edge out Philly. Philly is littered with talent. They actually have so much talent, Brett, they're going to have a problem with getting everybody shots. Right? You know what I mean? Like right now, Quentin Grimes is getting 14 shots. Kelly Oubre is getting like 13 shots. And obviously, I think Tyrese Maxey's taking like 22 shots a game, and Edge comes around 15. So you bring Embiid into the mix, you bring George back. Between them, they average probably about 36 shots between them. Somebody's not going to get the ball. You just don't have enough balls to go around.
So yeah, last one, Mo. Buy or sell the rumor that Willie Green of the New Orleans Pelicans is really on the hot seat.
Oh, I buy that. I 100% buy that. And when I say I buy that, I don't think what's going on in New Orleans is all Willie Green's fault, but you know how this goes. What's easier to replace, your players or your coach? It's your coach. They're not getting rid of Trey Murphy. They're not getting rid of Zion. You know what I mean? Jordan Poole's not. He just got there. He's not going anywhere. It's going to be Willie Green. Willie Green's been the coach for a few years, and they really haven't had any success. Now, is it Willie Green's fault that the time that he's been there, they have been just destroyed by injuries in his tenure there? Obviously, we all know Zion played next to no games. Trey Murphy stays on the injured list. It's a franchise that's been just blown away because guys can't stay healthy. They spend most of their time in street clothes. But it's a results-driven league, and like I said, you're not moving your players. If something's got to go, if you've got to shake up the franchise, it's going to be the coach. The only question I have is, if you fire Willie Green, do you hire from within? Because I don't see where the obvious upgrade is, unless, and I don't think he's coming because he just signed a contract to be an on-air personality, unless you're going after Mike Malone.
Yeah, no, I completely buy that, but I do kind of feel for him. Like, look, obviously he's not perfect, and at this point, it's probably better to get a new voice in the locker room anyway. But when you fire him, you should probably also give Joe Dumars his walking papers. Man's been there for 6 months, way too long. Because just the entire organization is a mess, right? Now, people are going after, Dumars for trading the Pacers pick back to them since they're now winless. But first off, I'm going to defend that because, let's be real, that was pre-Halliburton's Achilles popping, so there's really no indication they were going to be this bad. We didn't know that, Halliburton was done for quite yet. So, but, oh my goodness, that second trade to get Derek Queen on draft night, that was just a beyond bad move. I'm sorry, you don't give up your unprotected 2026 first in a loaded draft class for Derek Queen. Derek Queen could very well be a fine player. Granted, I have my doubts about a 6'9", 250-pound center, but that being said, you had a real chance, because before that trade, they drafted Fears, and you look at the roster, and you're like, cool, they're going to be right back in the lottery next year. They're not good enough to compete, but this could be fun, I guess, which I do owe Fears an apology. He's playing a lot better than I expected him to do, so good job, Fears. But then you turn around and you make the trade for Queen by giving up an unprotected first next year in a loaded draft, and then to come out and go, oh, I don't think we need to win right away. What do you mean? Well, that's why you trade the unprotected first. If you think you're one piece away, you don't give up a lottery pick in a loaded draft. So it feels like that this whole issue is just, there's no direction. There's no game plan. And now they might have to miss out a chance to add someone like, Cam Boozer, the son of Carlos Boozer, is a walking double-double. Some real blue chip prospect like that, because they made a very short-sighted move to fix their center rotation. And obviously it's long-term because they have Derek Queen now for like 5 years, but I don't think Queen was worth taking the risk of missing out on someone like, Boozer or AJ or Darren Peterson, just one of these blue chip prospects coming into the 2026 draft.
I feel like Joe Dumars is picking up where he left off in Detroit. the trade to trade up to get Derek Queen. I know we talked about this a couple different times. I'm not against Derek Queen becoming a good player. I think he will be a good player, Brett. What I don't think is, I don't think he's going to be a great player. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think, you know what I mean? I think he'll just be and that's not a bad thing. If you're a lot in life that you're a good player, that means you can help a team win. But that also means if you're a good player, we shouldn't draft you where we drafted you. We certainly shouldn't have traded away a lottery pick to get you. Like when you make a move like that, you're saying you think so highly of this guy that he's going to be impactful immediately, and he's not. And again, this is a rookie year, and he's off to a slow start. It doesn't mean he won't pick it up and be terrific going forward or in the second half of the season, but this feels closer to a Darko move than a transcendent move. I'm just being and look, I'm not calling Queen Darko, but I am saying, you said it yourself, you could have came away with Boozer's son or somebody else who's going to be better than Queen right from the jump. I don't understand the way Joe Dumars thinks. It's weird because for many years, Brett, he always got it right. Like he was always right. And then he did the Darko move, and it just all got worse from that point on. Remember what he did. They lost in the finals, right? They lost in the finals to the Spurs in 7. He thinks we need more offense. We've got plenty of defense. What does he do? He trades away Ben Wallace. Ben, you got to go. Brings in, I believe it's McDyess and Chris Webber. They're not Ben Wallace. What happens? They lose in the Eastern Conference Finals to LeBron and company. And they're done. They're done. Eventually, he turns around and trades Chauncey Billups, who's still playing at a high level, for Iverson, who's not quite Iverson anymore. He did that. Like Joe Dumars has done some rough stuff the last decade or so, and I'm not sure what the Pelicans were thinking. Like, we're getting Joe Dumars to run things, and I'm like, I'm not so sure why you're so excited. And this Derek Queen move, what does that say to the fans? Again, I'm not killing Derek Queen. I do believe that he will ultimately be a good player, but I wouldn't have made that trade or trade away that pick for a good player.
And if you thought Derek Queen was worth, trading your unprotected first next year for, just draft him at 7. That's all I'm saying. If you thought he was that good, just take him at 7. Call it a day.
Right. He would have been there. Yeah.
Say, you know what, Mo? I'm waiting for the Pelicans to do the funniest thing ever. Look, they went with a proven figure in Joe Dumars. Who's the friend of Joe Dumars? Let's reunite the backcourt. Fire Willie Green, bring in Isaiah Thomas. Just do it.
Perfect.
I need to give all the Knicks fans terrible, terrible flashbacks from their mid-2000s Isaiah Thomas tenure.
Man, Zeke did some rough stuff to that franchise. He really did. He brought in every name player that you can bring in that was washed up.
Allen Houston, Stephon Marbury, my personal favorite, Eddie
Steve Francis. Don't forget Steve Francis. He brought in, he just brought in everybody that was done.
Oh, he was signing contracts so bad they literally made the amnesty ruling, dubbed it the Allen Houston rule. Just that's almost why I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for the Pelicans because I feel like it's bad now, but it feels like that it's going to get so much worse for some reason.
And there is a lot of really talented guys on that team. But I feel like sometimes you can have too much of the same guy, and so you're not really a different team, or you're not a versatile team. It's the problem that Toronto has right now with their roster construction. In some ways, I think the Pelicans are like that because I think if you have Trey Murphy, I don't think that you need Herb Jones. I like Herb Jones, but he's a luxury. What you can't do is you can't pay Herb Jones the way Herb Jones is probably going to get on the free agent market. But I'm looking at a team they just added Jordan Poole to a team that features Zion, Trey Murphy. It just feels like a lot of familiar names, but I don't know if they're compatible. And I think you're right. This isn't about whether Willie Green's a good coach. It really is one of those things where they might just need a fresh voice in that locker room because I feel like his has gone stale.
Wait until that Zion trade. Yeah.
I've been waiting. By the way, Jory, I'm Brett and I talked about this. We think the Sixers are going to try to make it work, but I'm waiting for the NB trade.
I say don't give him any ideas. Get the Zion for Embiid trade machine going.
Oh my God. Oh, Embiid. So they send Embiid and Paul George to Charlotte. Not Charlotte. I'm sorry, to the Pelicans. Ooh,
The Pelicans. There we go.
ooh, that's rough. Actually, Charlotte might take that deal. I mean, I'm just saying.
Say Zion is still such an interesting talent.
He is.
I
There's no denying it.
I didn't buy into the hype. A lot of people were going like, this is a bounce back year. He's making all NBA. And you know what? I'm so happy that I stayed firm. I was like, no, he's not. Because I'm watching him play. I'm like, I can't tell if I'm watching, year 6 Zion or rookie year Zion. Because it's the same player. Literally, I can't tell the difference. Like, he still doesn't have a jumper. If you still, force him right, he just doesn't really do much of anything. Still, a below-average defender. Still a below-average rebounder. I'm just sitting here yeah, I think the Zion hype is just, I think it's done. And you can say maybe send him somewhere else. Maybe he bounces back, but I don't know. It just feels like he hasn't really made many improvements since his rookie year for me to be that into the idea of, yeah, he's gonna make that all NBA leap if we send him to New York, for example. Because I mean, you could send him somewhere, but I guess my question is, do you think Zion needs a change of scenery, or do you think Zion's just Zion?
I think the Pelicans and Zion both need to change the scenery. I think they need a reset. I'm with you. I think Zion Williamson today, outside of the fact that he's in better shape, he's also still the same player in terms of his skill set. He's added nothing to his game. And so while I think he can be an impactful player, what I would challenge anybody to do is convince me that Zion Williamson is a franchise player, because I actually think that he needs to go somewhere where he's not cast in the role as the main guy. He needs to be cast in the role as the number 2 guy.
Yeah, I think my stance with Zion's been the same with you. I still think he's a very good player. I think he's like a all-star to he's like a fringe all-NBA player when he gets on a heater. But I just never really viewed him as the franchise guy.
Same.
Right? Obviously his first game it looked fun, but that's also because he hit 4 threes in his first game in New York, and he looked like he was going to be the guy. But yeah, 6 years down the road, he's almost the same player that he was his rookie year, which is still a really good player. I still like the player. I just think the idea that he's going to turn into this all NBA demon if we move him somewhere else it's just not going to work out.
Let me ask you this. In a different role, still a star, still a focal point on the team, but would he be better? Not even if he isn't necessarily the guy, but would he be better if you could pair him with an elite perimeter player, even if it's a young player? What if you paired him with LaMelo? Could that work?
Yeah, I think that could work. I think the challenge, obviously, with a team like Charlotte is you'd have to find a center that could possibly space the floor to give him max room. But yeah, I think that could work, especially since Zion is such an aerial threat mixed with the vision of LaMelo. I think that would actually be a lot of fun. Honestly, that would kill it. Give me that, Mo, and then let's say who needs defense? Let's just run Zion at the 5 looks and just watch that team run back and forth. Because I think that'd be fun, at least.
Yeah, and look, defense matters to you and I. We want it on both ends of the floor. But we have seen teams who were offensively dominant to the point where even though they weren't good defensively, they just outscored you. They just ran you into the ground. I think Zion playing small ball 5 would be a matchup nightmare for most teams. There are no 5s in the current NBA that can run with him, certainly not stay in front of him, even without a consistent jump shot. And I know, yes, he's going to give up something on the other end, but it's not like the NBA has like 5 dominant centers. They've got 2 dominant centers, and really right now they got like 1.5 because Embiid's not 100%. And then there's Joker, who I don't care if Zion was 7 feet tall, he would still get eaten alive. So yeah, I'd say experiment, have fun. If you play small ball 5 and you have the services of LaMelo and Zion, 1, it's going to be a nightly highlight reel. 2, it's going to be an entertaining brand of basketball that gives you your best shot to get in the play. When's the last time the Hornets been in the playoffs? It's been a minute.
Kemba Walker?
Yeah, it's been a minute, right? Go all the way back to prime Kemba. So why not give your fan base something to get excited about in a realistic way? Like, hey, we're exciting, we're relevant, we've got a young up and coming team. That's a good thing. You don't have to win it all in year 1, 2, 3, or 4, but just be competitive and get into the playoffs. Get into the playoffs is a big deal for a franchise like Charlotte. So I know we're talking pie in the sky because I'm certain, 100% certain, the Pelicans have no plans to trade Zion Williamson.
Yeah, I'd say, and you know what? The thing about the Hornets is they have a lot of fun young bigs. I kind of like their big rotation. Have you seen what Kalkbrenner's shooting from the field to start the year?
I have not.
He is at 90% from the field right now. He's missed 2 shots all year.
That's crazy. I have watched what's the young man from Duke? He's really feisty. I like that kid. Nipple. Yes. Just a really hard-nosed, tough guy. That is the kind of player that, no, he's not your best player, but he's the kind of guy that makes your best player a better player, if that makes sense.
Yeah, him and Moose, their other backup center. The Khan I thought was a great start from the jump, and he's somebody that I even said it right when they drafted him. A lot of people were kind of doubting the Knuckle pick at 4, but I was like, I think it's a great fit for Charlotte because he's such a consistent floor spacer at 6'7". So you can just shoot right over the top of a lot of defenders, and we're seeing a lot of that to start the year. He's just been a lightning bolt from 3, so he's done such a great job spacing the floor for them. It's just looking to be a fantastic fit, and he's just like such a perfect partner for, LaMelo and then Brandon Miller and Miles Bridges, especially the 2 forwards. Those are guys that, are going to want to attack the rim more, so having a guy like Knuckle spacing the floor helps a ton.
It's weird to say this because he's a rookie, but I feel like Con Knipple gives them a veteran presence. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. He's a rookie, but he has a very old school approach to the game and how he plays. It's hard nosed. He sets hard screens first to the floor on a 50-50 ball, and then he spots up and he just does so many things that helps you win basketball games. I think that rubs off. He's a perfect pick for them in different ways. It's not about star power. It's just he's a very good basketball player that I think he's a culture builder. While LaMelo's certainly a talented player and could be a franchise player, I think Knipple is a culture builder, and that's just as important.
No, absolutely. So, like I said, I actually think the Hornets are trending in a great direction. Even though, like I said, they lost to the Magic today, but I don't think that should overtake the start that they've had to the year so far. Some other current scores around the league we got going on. We got Spurs up 69-60 on the Miami Heat. The Thunder are up big on the Wizards, 101-86. So I guess modern NBA not that big. And then, of course, the Bucks are beating the Warriors 92-88, which is, once again, pretty surprising. This is a game that the Bucks do not have the services of Giannis. So I know a lot of people are really picking the Warriors to win this one, but I mentioned his name before. I'll say it again. Shout out to Ryan Rollins. He has 22 points, 6 assists, and 3 boards. He's leading the way for Milwaukee.
This kid has come out and had a really fast start to this season. I'm so excited for him that he continues in his development. He might be the perimeter player that Giannis needs to play off of. He needed another guy, and he needed somebody on the perimeter that can take some pressure off of him. And look, this kid looks like he might be the guy, which, by the way, if he is the guy, that's great, because if you get back a healthy Porter and then Porter's put into the role that I think he should play, then I think you get even deeper. So I love it for the Bucks. Even though he hasn't put up big numbers, I'm glad that I think Miles Turner is a perfect fit for them as well. He's going to pay big benefits during the course of the season. And I do think that this current version of the Bucks, they're very interesting, because normally when you're minus Giannis, you're like, we're going to be down 10 or 15 points. This team is very resilient, very competitive. So that's a good sign. If you're a Bucks fan, this is a beautiful thing to watch.
And Mo, I think Ryan Rollins is very much going to be in the discussion for best contract in the NBA as well.
Facts.
Say he's a guy, like I said, he's been balling, he's been getting a lot better, and he signed that insane bargain deal before the year started. He's currently on the books for Milwaukee for 3 years, $12 million. So he's only getting paid $4 million a year. So if he's very well a perfect piece to build around, because he can give you high level play, and he doesn't cost anything. So he might be due for a raise in 4 years, but we can worry about that when the contract's up. So
yeah,
that was an absolute masterclass by John Horst with that one.
It was. Shout out to John Horst. I will say this: if what he's doing is sustainable as an individual talent, and I think it is, my guess is in the offseason, they're going to come to him with an offer. You know what I mean? They're going to be like, we know you're a little bit underpaid, and I'm going to put it lightly, a little bit, because for what he's doing right now, a player like that would normally make about $30 million a year at least.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, like I said, the Bucks will be fun because, like I said, I think KPJ is coming back soonish. Giannis is in a situation where he could have played today, but they're not really going to push him, game 5. They're going to give him all the rest that he needs. So
smart move.
Yeah, I was happy about that. Some people were complaining like, oh, we're load managing already. I'm like, I'm not load managing. But there's also just no point in, risking Giannis suffering a knee injury like, game 5. So
100%. If my franchise player says something's wrong and it's not quite right, I'm sitting him. We don't have to have a long discussion. You're my franchise player. You let me know when you feel right. The one thing I know about Giannis, and you know this too, this guy loves to play basketball. Loves it. Loves to compete. If he's hurting to the point where he says he can't go, then he can't go. And I'm going to trust him. And I'll trust him to let me know when he's 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also love, I've loved Miles Turner as well. He's been one of those guys that the stats sheet's not going to show right. I saw people making fun of him going, he's averaging a triple single. Look what you get for leaving Halliburton in Indiana. But I think his biggest impact has been defensively, where the stat sheet's not going to show a lot. It's, if you watch the difference between the Bucks defense with him and Brook Lopez from last year, it's night and day. Just the versatility he can give. Obviously, he can run with Giannis, but that being said, he gives a center that can legitimately switch out. So now we can switch 1 through 5. We can keep a rim protector near the basket that can actually recover and affect shots in time. Like, he just gives you so much more versatility. And we have a center that can shoot a 3 and recover back, to his matchup down on the other end of the court. That used to be a big problem with Brook. He'd shoot, for example, a corner 3, and if that thing missed, they were getting an easy shot at the other end because Brook wasn't going to recover in time for it. So I'm loving the impact of Miles Turner. The stat sheet might not show it, but if you watch the Bucks defense relative to last year, you'll see it really quickly, the impact that Miles Turner's making for him.
I think he's been a great addition. I've certainly seen his ability to show and recover and play in space. Also, when you have him and Giannis, two bigs who can recover the way they do, you have great weak side defense on either block. Either he's coming from the opposite side or Giannis is coming from the opposite side. They complement each other perfectly.
No, absolutely. So, I'm loving the Milwaukee moves, and hey, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, your free agent signing too looked great against the Timberwolves. How about Jake LaRavia?
I watched that game last night. Before the season, I had hopes that Jake LaRavia could be a really good rotational player. Now his shooting can be streaky, but the way he plays the game, he doesn't cheat you. He's all effort, and he was terrific last night. Actually, on both ends of the floor. Very competitive guy. I was happy for him. I think that the growth in Austin Reeves to where he's like, I don't need to get 30 tonight. Not when I know I can beat my man off the dribble and create opportunities for other people. And Jake LaRavia was every opportunity, every catch and shoot was money. He was terrific last night. So yeah, look, for what we got for him, much like you talked about with your Bucks, it's a bargain deal. It's an incredible bargain deal. And I think going forward, Jake LaRavia is going to become a fixture in the rotation.
Absolutely. So, but yeah, say that's really all I had for us today. Talk some old school, new school, get our own teams in there. Is there anything you want to add before we get up on out of here, Mo?
No, look, thank you, chat, so much for joining us. Brett, this is like one of them things where we just love to do. We can just chop hoops up from hours on end. So I'm glad you guys take your time out every Thursday to join us. We appreciate you guys so much. Look, everybody across the Wire to Wire Network family, appreciate you guys for the continued support. We thank you so much, guys. Appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can check out some, great content on Wire to Wire. We got some great upcoming content of Passion and Precision. You can catch that tomorrow night. You can go back and rewatch some old stuff on the Facebook page and YouTube. We on the Meaty Boys podcast, we just had an interview with wrestling promoter Frankie DeFalco, who's also wrestled guys. He tells stories of what it's like to stand across the ring from Andre the Giant and what it's like running a wrestling promotion. And he brought one of his champions on with him. So, like I said, you can check out all of our content and one Meaty Boys Wire to Wire Wednesday nights. That being said, everybody, we appreciate you and hope you enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you for tuning in to the And One podcast. If you like our content, you can find more on the Wire to Wire Podcast Network on YouTube, Facebook, and Spotify. Want more And One? Find it on Wire to Wire. Like and share our Facebook page and join the And One Discord. Grab the link to join from our Facebook. Thank you for tuning in and have a wonderful day.